private partnership unit in Zambia, working with you to get Zambia on the move.
Back to the issues, Mr. Soko. We were looking at issues of risk before we broke off. And just after that, I did mention that we're going to look at sources of financing and how people with ideas can proceed. I want you to look at major sources of finance in a PPP.
Just like any other type of project, could be traditional procurement, traditional projects, and those from PPPs. The source of financing usually categorized into the main ones. Usually it's from equity and debt. Now, I want to dwell a little bit more on equity. I'll talk about debt a much more elaborated way, but I want to put this one on a layman's perspective. What I want is that there are youths on the other side who have been pestering us to say, we want money, all that stuff. But sometimes it is the idea which must start, which can actually attract money. So one of the things in equity, you're talking about just the ownership, which you as a person who want to enter into that particular project, you go. An idea can be equity. Land can be equity. Okay, they come different ways. There are shares on the stock market. All those things can come into different ways. Then people can actually get finances through debt. That is debt financing. You're talking about there could be acquisition of loans from the financial market. But at the same time, within debt, you can acquire finances through the capital markets. That is long-term markets. That is the bond market. You can have, and that is one of the most common things where you have even heard of Euro bonds which have been issued. Those are some of the sources of financing. But they need very technical people to be able to assist any persons to be able to suggest on the basic, the type of financing which is needed for a PPP. Because it's the government is not actually involved. So we don't expect that the government on the other side should be able to assist you or a private sector to be able to do financing, even to go and get a loan. Most times we have seen private companies or the private partners coming to convince us to say we should be able to convince the Ministry of Finance to guarantee their loans. That one, it means that just by guaranteeing like that, it means the government has assumed that financial risk. So it is not something that we need. If we needed to get a loan, it would be very simple. We'll just go on the financial market, we'll go on the capital market, the bond market, and then we issue the bonds, and then from there we acquire the money which we need. We can go on the money market, issue the treasury bills and get the money which we need. But then in this particular system, we want the private sector to come with their own monies, and certainly not the guaranteed money. Because as long as we want to start guaranteeing the particular type of loans or the bonds, then we'll have a problem. It will drop off being a PPP. But these two main, these two components are the main sources of finances, and most of our people usually can go into it.
Sometimes people have ideas and they do not have the cash. I want you to explain, how do such people proceed in such a situation?
Yes, very good question. In connection to what I was talking about on equity, equity is the ownership, just the contribution which you can have to that particular project. So the contribution might not be just in terms of money. It might be in terms of property. It could be just be property like land. It could be property, should I call it the idea, intellectual property. Very important. When a youth, or why I like talking about the youth, especially Zambians, most of people think that PPPs only deal with foreigners, foreign investors. We have a lot of Zambian youths who have got very good ideas. But the way they actually put up those ideas, it tells as to whether you are going to attract investment, you are going to attract financiers or not. People with good ideas, they should be able to put those good ideas on the paper. Let them come at PP unit, we guide them on what processes should be involved in coming up with in learning about the PPP process. Let them go to consultants, find out how to craft a very good PPP project, how to come up with a very good PPP proposal, so that it is unsolicited. As unsolicited proposal, it can actually be your equity itself. You can go to the financial market to say, I've identified a project and I've come up with a proposal. This is a very good proposal. It's a bankable proposal. Because you have come up with a bankable project, meaning that you are convincing them. You have identified all the risks. You have identified all the PP options. You have done every matrix which is needed about that particular project. You embellished so much that immediately you give it to a financier, they will be very much interested to come in. Then you say, actually, this is my proposal. These are my ideas. I value it at 30%. It's equity. I'm coming into this. If you want, we can form a joint venture. Let's form a consortium so that we do this, maybe Chishimba Falls Lodge. That proposal, you present to a financier. Some of the financiers will be very much interested. To tell the truth, even some of these foreign investors that we have, they don't come here with money. They come here and then identify areas where they can invest. And then they put in writing, go to the financial market, borrow, and then they come. Sometimes the only thing they just form a joint venture with some of the financiers. And then they come there to convince you to say, no, actually I've got money. When in that case they didn't even have money. So people have got ideas, let them put them on the paper and solicit a proposal for PPPs, and then from there go to the financial market. For sure. From there, they will not even have any particular problem, as long as they make it a bankable project.
Explain a few points that can be followed when people want to craft a profitable or a project that can attract financing in a PPP.
Yes, and specifically, I'll focus much on the PPP projects.